we're now going to take a look at nested for loops within list comprehensions. So we learned about nested for loops previously. We're now going to see them within a list comprehension. So this does make the list comprehension more complex, a little more difficult to read. So you have to make the judgment whether or not you want to use these nested for loops within a list comprehension or just write it normally. So let's go ahead and cover an example to see how it looks. I'm going to first show you a normal nested for loop code, and then we're going to rewrite it using a list comprehension. Okay, so take a look at this for loop. We're going to iterate first through the numbers 0 through 2, then the numbers 0 through 4, and then we're going to keep appending to a list that we created as our first line of code the values of the loop variables. We're just going to say I is whatever I is and j is whatever j is. Let's go ahead and look at this. So this is a list. And you can see here, when I is 0, then we're going to start a new for loop in here. And j will go from 0 to 4. Then we'll go back up. Once this loop gets exhausted, we'll go back up to I again. And when I is 1, we'll run through another loop where j goes from 0 to 4. So we get this set over here. And finally, the last set like this. So this is just a very plain and bland nested for loop. And we can rewrite this using a list comprehension. So we're going to do the same exact thing. So we're going to begin with creating our list. And then we're going to have the for loop part. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to just copy and paste this over here. And we're just going to all we're going to do is remove the colons. So for I and j, for j in range, or for I in range 3, for j in range 5. There's no condition over here. And then I'm going to put the expression. Remember, we don't need the list name or the dot append. I'm going to put this over here at the beginning. And that's all you do. So it's the same thing. All we do is we put the nested part over here. So this will go for, it's the same way as writing this over here. So if you understand this, then you should understand that the list comprehension just does the same exact thing in one line. All right, let's look at one more example. So here we have 3 nested loops. We're going to create a bunch of different words. So the first letter of the word will be B or M. The second letter will be either A or E, and the third letter will be D or T. So we're going to loop through each character over here. So here, there's just 2 characters. So this is a string, right? So we're just looping through strings here. X will be B and then M. Y will be the A and then E, and then Z will be D and then T. And finally, the body of the loop over here will just add to this list that we created over here our new word, which will just be composed of X, Y, and Z. So the plus sign here just adds those characters. So for the first one, it will be B plus A plus D. The second one will be B plus A plus T, and so forth. Okay, so let's go ahead and take a look at this. So we're just using this to create words. We could create, more words like this. I can add a Z, it'll make even more, or an S, or so forth, and it'll keep making all these words. You can put in all the vowels over here, and it'll make something at least that is pronounceable, consonant, vowel, consonant, and so forth. Let's just go back to our simple example. Now, so this is 3 levels of nesting, and again, we can recreate this. It's not very difficult now. You should know the pattern. Just copy the for loops, get rid of the colons, and then we can put it on one line like this. And then so this is the for loop part for X and BM. So for this is the outer loop, the inner loop, and then the inner loop over here. And then what is our expression? It's just this thing that is being appended. And that's just X plus Y plus Z. All right, so that's how you can translate a normal nested loop into a nested loop within a list comprehension. All right, so those are just a couple of examples, again, of these nested for loops. You have to decide whether or not it makes sense to use the list comprehension or just use the normal way of looping.